I'm Allan. Welcome to Conversations with Allan. It's good to be back with you. Over the last several conversations, we've been walking through the 5 things that I evaluate in any brokerage model. We began with compensation, then professional development, after that, support and infrastructure, and last time, leadership. Today we come to the 5th, and for me, the most important one of all, which is long-term opportunity. But before we talk about opportunity, I'd like to ask you a different question. What happens to a career? Not this year, not this market cycle, not even the next 5 years. I mean the whole journey. Because after 35 years in this profession, I've come to believe that's the question experienced professionals eventually find themselves asking. When I first entered real estate, success seemed fairly straightforward. Produce more, sell more homes, serve more clients, build a strong business. Those are worthwhile goals, and in many ways they built my career. But somewhere along the way, I noticed something had changed. The questions I was asking weren't the same questions I had asked 20 or 30 years earlier. I wasn't just thinking about production anymore. I found myself thinking about purpose, about stewardship, about what all those years of hard work were actually building. One of the advantages of spending years in finance before I moved to real estate is that I learned to look past the income statement. I learned to ask a different question. What is being created? Because there's an important difference between earning income and building something that keeps creating value long after today's work is finished. That principle changed the way I looked at businesses, and eventually it changed the way I looked at my own career. I've had a front row seat to this profession for a long time now, and I've watched remarkable agents build remarkable businesses. Some of them retired with tremendous freedom. Others simply retired from years of hard work. The difference usually wasn't intelligence, it wasn't talent, and it certainly wasn't work ethic. I've never met a group of harder working people. More often than not, though, it came down to what all those years of effort had actually produced. Had they created a long series of a history of transactions? Or had they built something that kept creating value after the transactions were over? That became one of the defining questions of my own career. You know, if you'd asked me 30 years ago what success looked like, I probably would have talked about production. 20 years ago, I might have talked about building a business. Today, I think about something completely different. I think about whether the work I'm doing right now will still matter years from now. Will it create opportunities for my family? Will it help other agents build better careers? Will it leave something worthwhile behind? I'm not sure I could have answered those questions when I was younger. I'm just grateful that I'm asking them now. Here's what I've come to believe. Every career is building something. The only real question is what? Is it building another year's income? Or is it building more choices, more freedom, more opportunity for the people who come after me? That's why I no longer evaluate a brokerage by asking what it pays. I ask what it allows me to build. Does it create ownership? Does it create leverage? Does it reward long-term contribution? Does it become more valuable as the years go by? Or does every January quietly ask me to start over? Those are very different models, and they lead to very different futures. One idea has become increasingly important to me as I've gotten older. Your career is measured not only by what it earns, but by what it leaves behind. I believe that's true of finances. It's true of leaderships. It's true of relationships. And it's certainly true of the people we've had the privilege to mentor along the way. At some point, success stops being about accumulation. It starts being about contribution. So when I look back now, I don't think long-term opportunity is really about retirement at all. I think it's about alignment. Knowing that the model you're building inside today is helping you become the person you want to be, while also helping you build the future you hope to leave behind. When those two things come together, your work takes on an entirely different meaning. So here's my question for you this week. If you continue on your current path for the next 10 years, what do you hope your career will have built? Not just for you, but the people whose lives your work touches. That's a big question, and I don't think there's only one right answer. If you've got one, I'd like to hear it. Now, I want to tell you where we are. This conversation completes the framework I talked about in the beginning. 5 areas: compensation, professional development, support and infrastructure, leadership, and long-term opportunity. That's the whole thing. And it's taken us 20 conversations to get here. So I think of this as the close of, if you will, our first season together. If you're new here, this would be a good time to go back to the beginning and watch the whole arc of these videos. They were built to be walked through in order. If you've been with me from the start, thank you. I don't take that lightly. You've done the thinking. You've asked the hard questions. You've been patient with a man who'd rather ask questions than sell you something. Which brings me to what comes next. For 20 conversations, I've asked questions and stayed deliberately quiet about my own answers. That was intentional. I wanted you to think clearly for yourself before I ever told you what I found. That season is over. When we come back, I'm going to tell you exactly what I found when I ran my own career through these 5 questions, filters if you will. What I discovered, what we built, and why, after 35 years and a whole lot of skepticism, it changed my mind about what's possible in this business. No hype, no pitch, just an honest account from someone who went looking. Until then, I hope you build your career on purpose. I'm Allan Nanny. I'll see you in the next conversation, and it's one I've been waiting a long time to have with you.